Deleted Session, November 14, 1977. Now, good evening, and a few remarks to clear up some issues in our last session. There were modern or highly sophisticated civilizations, utilizing some technology long before the dates given for the invention of writing. Rao noted about 3100 BC. They said writing was invented and reinvented, the art lost, then re-emerged. There were languages then long before your earliest evidence of land, and in written form. Your civilization is organized around science and technology, and generally speaking, now, the arts and other schools of knowledge have been largely subsidiary. Long before the time of the Egyptians, now there were sophisticated societies, utilizing some technologies and advanced in the arts of writing. But these civilizations were not organized around technology, so that the technological advances, while highly sophisticated, were not pursued with the same diligence as in your time, and they were considered novelties, playthings for the wealthy, advanced toys, but not considered in a serious light. There were several such civilizations, some mainly agriculturally oriented, and in those technology was applied, but generally only for that purpose, to increase agricultural yield. Some were religiously oriented, some were socially oriented, enjoying a kind of comradeship that would find, for example, televisions in personal communications, a mockery of the give and take that they enjoyed in personal context. The evidence of much of the writing, the records and so forth, vanished. For some of these civilizations, they indeed have paper of a kind and the printing presses of a kind. As a result, your evidence shows the much later re-emergence of writing on more durable objects. Unfortunately, the evidence for the existence of modern-like societies does not physically remain, for buildings, for example, were not constructed to last, as people lose the kind of ancestral roots that exist in less advanced societies. So many sophisticated civilizations with rapid overturn of goods and products, with printing presses and writing upon fragile paper are lost to history. One or two societies had microfilm, but microfilm needs another technological society for its interpretation. Word scrolls upon a rock endure physically to be interpreted by any onlooker. I said that your conventional geological ages were faulty, along with your theories of the age of the Earth, for it is far older than is supposed. Obviously, it has changed geographically, like you know. There were vast civilizations, however, where now there is only the endless expanse of the ocean waves, and ruins that most likely will never be discovered, for they are obliterated in the very life of the planet itself. There were electric batteries. There were airplanes. There was not a technological organization, however, as you know it. So that the technological achievements were considered somewhat in a fashion that your society now considers fine art, aesthetic, to be collected by the wealthy, delightful, good for collectors, but not particularly practical. The aura of the mind of man simply had a different test. In a way, mental organization itself was different. Psychic priorities, if you prefer. Religious ideas, of course, held their own sway then as they do now. The earth was felt to be a more lively participator. It was personified. Some of this is impossible to explain. People felt that the sun and the moon would be offended if electric lights were used, for example, that in retaliation they might refuse to shine. Reading was generally accepted. Books were numerous, but reading was done in the daytime. Technology was considered a plaything. Airplanes were not generally used. They were novelties. People identified so with the earth, they could see no reason for fast travel. There were automobiles, again considered as fanciful, technological art. In one way or another, the race played with technology through the ages. In a subsidiary manner, almost any of your modern inventions at one time or another existed on the face of the earth in the past, in your terms, sometimes in a developed manner or simply in plain form, but never in the same organized domineering fashion. Your ideas of the history of your species, then, are largely distorted versions of the latent structure in those terms. The poles at one time were reversed. The earth has formed and reformed and reformed. The inner psychic organizations always determine the kind of challenges and civilizations that emerge. There have been civilizations devoted merely to art, in which all other endeavors were considered subsidiary, and the quality of workmanship was everything, no matter what the product. Mass production was inconceivable, because the originality of each piece of art, or furniture, or ball held its value in that manner, and the idea of producing a copy of anything would have been considered ludicrous, or considered an act without reason. Give us a moment. Beside all of that, there were cultures advanced enough for space travel before the numbering of your geological ages. But even those did not organize life about technology in the way that you do. In the tangled areas of time, in one way or another, messages were left from one group of civilizations to another, whether they could be read at once or not for centuries. Take your break. Now, Rupert's improvements are accelerating. If you could see the body with X-ray eyes, or could perceive its activity, you would observe an almost constant reactivation and revitalization of all those parts devoted to motion and locomotion, increased circulation, precisely the amount required, not too much or too little, and overall adjustments, so that all parts of the body are prepared and exercised, so that the final stages of the pattern will then easily seem to fall into place, because of the work being done now. This will be another brief session. The reason for the brief sessions, relatively speaking, has to do with the exercise of the jaw areas, which is being executed in precisely the best fashion, but not being overdone. As far as your cells are concerned, tread framework 2 to know exactly where and when the cells should be accelerated and in what fashions, and do not specify packed box in your intent, however, and clear in your faith that the cells increase will benefit all portions of your life and not cause any problems. In that instance also, your natures are known, so that the cells increase will happen in a way that beneficially suits all of your other goals, and in no way defeats them. You can, however, think of what you will do with the money, how you can use it to increase that enjoyment, which will in turn benefit your work and others. Such imaginings can be quite helpful, for you must also take Rupert's future condition in mind at the same time, a sneaky remark that I threw in, for you do understand what I mean. Someday you may want to leave money to ensure that our books continue to be printed after your death. If Rupert seriously gives seminars, you may want more room or a different kind of establishment, a vacation. There have been many expectations held in abeyance because you did not feel sure that Rupert would recover, so your mental attitudes will change. Continue to do your framework 2 approaches. You build up interest there, as you do with money in a bank. and you will collect their interest. Rupert's approach was the phone call. Rob noted to Tom. They said today was excellent, and that approach can be used in many other areas of your activities by both of you. He felt the contact taking hold, as you did one. Rob noted, recently. They said working with sales. You, Joseph, try that with Rupert's condition also. Give us a moment. In the bathroom procedures, remind Rupert of spontaneity. That will help. When he spontaneously follows the impulse to go to the bathroom rather than think he must, for example, there is a connection on your part between your own interest in the Jewish past and your art and the gentleman, who is an artist and a twin, to whom you sent Cecily. I want to emphasize that framework 2 keeps track of connections beyond your conscious knowledge and can make computations in the twinkling of an eye. I like him to give suggestions before sleep that in one way or another during the dream state your knowledge of framework 2 will be increased. That is the end of our session. You can expect further improvements with Rupert. My heartiest regards and a fond good evening. Ross said, thank you very much, said good night.